What's up, guys? Jose Garcia here with Raiden Photography, bringing you 3 things you need to know about switching from this guy to this guy. So I just want to start off by saying thanks for stopping by. This is my sort of first time doing something like this, so you're going to have to bear with me and my whole not really knowing how to talk thing. Here we go. Number 1, ergonomics. We are very used to the way a DSLR feels in our hands. One of the number 1 things people say about switching to mirrorless is, I don't know, I kind of like this body, the weight, the balance with the lens, the buttons, like I like this here and this here. We build habits, you know what I mean? Like the muscle memory on this transfers over to D750, D810, like the feel of this is what I'm used to, and I like it, and I just can't get into something like this. It's small, my pinky, if I have a big hand, if I put a G Master or a big, pro heavy lens on the front, it's weighted to the front, my wrist hurts, like I don't know if I like this, holding it like this. But what that really is stubborn. Just change the way you hold it. Blasphemy! The reason we hold a DSLR like this, the whole purpose of that is keeping the camera stable and reducing as much handshake as you can in the shot. The mirrorless cameras have 5-axis stabilization, and it works insanely well to the point where you don't need to worry about how you hold the camera. Like it doesn't matter. It really makes no difference at all. You can hold the camera, like if you have a heavy lens like the G Master and you slap it on this thing, it's gonna feel top heavy. It's gonna, put a lot of pressure on your wrist shooting like this. But if it's heavy, why not just adapt how you hold the camera? You can hold this camera by the lens. If the lens is super heavy, the body's light enough that it won't make much of a difference. You'll be perfectly balanced just holding the lens. And you can do whatever you want with your other hand. You know what I mean? You can hold it, you can just slap it, you can poke it with your pinky. Doesn't matter. You hold it however you want to hold it, and it's still going to shoot the same way. This is going to get rid of any handshake that you might put in. Like, it doesn't matter how shaky your hand is. As soon as you hit that button, everything just stabilizes, and I can sit here and just vibrate it like this. And when I take that shot, it's gonna be sharp. Unless my shutter speed's super freaking slow, I'm gonna hit that shot. Like, I'm gonna get it. The other half of that is button layout. On Nikon, you have your front dial for the aperture, rear dial for shutter speed, most of us. That's how that works. On Canon, you have, the dial back here that you can rotate for your aperture, and you have your shutter speed up here. We get used to that one thing. Like, I don't want to figure this out. Like, I want it to be the same. The button layout on pretty much all Sony mirrorless cameras is completely customizable. And I don't mean, C1, C2, C4 and C3, like that's a lot of custom buttons, but what I'm actually talking about is every single button and dial, and then you have the lenses with the button on the side. Nikon has them too, but the amount of customization you can put on the buttons on the lens on a Sony camera is insane. They open it up completely. On the Nikon, it'll have something to do with autofocus on that button. And most of the time it's just like a focus hold or AF on. But on this, I can just set it to whatever. I can put my white balance here, I can do whatever. I have IAF personally on this, just because depending on how I'm holding the camera, if I feel like pressing it there, I can. You can set this camera up however you want. You can either replicate the layout of the cameras you're used to, you can come up with your own. You can do whatever you want. That's what I did. I was like, there's a lot of stuff on these cameras that I really don't need to do anymore. And I just changed the buttons around to whatever I felt like putting them on. If the lens is super heavy, like, and you feel like, oh, that's gonna break my wrist, I don't wanna one hand hold it, don't. hold it like this. You don't need to do this. You can. The EVF is great. You can do this, but you don't have to. That's all. Number 2, trust the camera. Bear with me here. With this, we were just talking about focus recompose, right? If you don't know what focus recompose is, basically, say you set a button on the back for AF on and your shutter just takes the picture. You would be in continuous most of the time, because that's what makes back button autofocus so great. Then you would lock focus on your subject and then just move the camera a little bit to place the subject where you want them in the frame and take the shot. The issue I have with focus recompose is that in the time it takes you to, from the center focus point, move the subject over and take that shot, no matter how fast you do it, and sometimes doing it fast will cause the problem in itself. Any little thing, you swaying a little bit, maybe you're on uneven surface, maybe you're just not, your posture is a little off and you move a little bit, the subject moving, you moving, even this little motion, if you're shooting at a shallow depth of field, can move the plane of focus. So you could have the eye dead on in the center, and then when you go like this, at 1.4, that little motion of tilting the camera will go from the dead eye tack sharp on the eye to focus on the eyebrow or the bridge of the nose or the tip of the nose sometimes. You know, just one little off movement from you or the model, and it's gone. You're gonna zoom into that shot and it's gonna be focused on a random eyelash. It's something you just accepted as like a fact of life with photography. You're gonna miss one every once in a while when you're shooting at a shallow depth of field. They have 3D AF tracking on the Nikon and Canon cameras where you'll use the center focus point, lock on, and then you can move it around and the focus point will move following your subject. For wildlife, sometimes it's okay, but you'll go from, you know, a tack sharp eye to the tip of a wing at the drop of a hat. Like, with the mirrorless camera, it is pretty crazy how good it is at finding exactly what it is you want to focus on. And I can just compose how I want. I'm still focusing. You know what I mean? I haven't let go of the autofocus. I'm still holding it. And I'm just tracking my subject across the frame and just taking shots. I don't need to stop the focus motors. That picture is going to be sharp. Doesn't matter if you're moving, if the model is moving through poses or just, you know, leaning back and forth, pretending to walk. Like, you're constantly focusing and tracking that subject, and you can just compose them how you want and take your shots. That's insane. The camera is doing the simple things for you. So you can focus on what's really important in photography, which is your lighting and your composition. That's it. Yeah. So trust the autofocus. This thing can continuously track a subject while you compose however you want to compose and take your shot. And again, through the screen, what you see is what you get. You're seeing your depth of field. You're seeing your lighting. You're seeing the shot before you take it. That's another thing. You can stop using image review. You can turn that off because you're seeing the shot before it clicks. Like, before you take the picture, you see exactly what you're gonna see when you press play and look at the picture. So you know you got your shot. It's not gonna be any different when I hit play and look at it. What I see is what I get. On here, what I see is what I'm seeing with my eyes, not what the sensor sees. When you take that shot and it opens up, whatever your settings are determine what the sensor sees. You never get to see that until you hit play. Why? Because live view sucks. That's why. If live view was good, you could use live view and it would do the same thing. Unfortunately, the autofocus is terrible, so no. Number 3, the EVF. The EVF is amazing. But here's what I found after using this for a while. I don't use the EVF the same way I thought I was going to use it. I thought, coming from a DSLR, just, you know, a stereotype in my head, that the viewfinder is better than the back screen. I thought I was going to be shooting like this, like I always was, holding the camera the same way and just, this is how you shoot. And then, while actually shooting, I noticed, since you're seeing the same thing on the back screen as you are in the EVF, I found myself just holding the camera like this and shooting. I never look through the EVF. Blasphemy! The only time I look in the EVF is when maybe if I want to really squint in and pixel peep to check sharpness or something, but even then, if the lighting is fine and I can see the back screen, I never need to look through here. I don't use the EVF the way I thought I would, or as much as I thought I would. It pretty much replaces having the Hoodman eye loop thing to, you know, cover your back screen and check your focus on your pictures. It completely eliminates the need for that, because now I can just go like this and look at my shot. For some people, it's actually hard to just let go of these little things like focus recompose. You don't need to do that anymore. I'm just gonna shoot, guys. This is what matters. Composition, lighting. This, how I do this, should not matter. It's a tool. The tool makes the job easier. The more they design the tool to make the job easier, the more this matters. It's gonna be less complicated, less technique based to get a sharp shot. Now, anyone can get a sharp shot. It's more about who can get the good sharp shot, who can get the good shot. Being able to get a sharp shot shouldn't be part of the process. If the tool is good, it should enable you to get a sharp shot, just by default. Alright, so let's recap. Number one, the button layout on a Sony Mirrorless camera, anything from the A6000 all the way up to something like the A7RIII or the A9 is completely customizable. Not only your C1, C2, C3, C4 like custom buttons are customizable, but everything, the multi-selector, the dial, everything. You can mimic your older setup, whatever your setup was, Nikon, Canon, anything. You can mimic that setup on here and have the same feel when you pick up the camera, knowing where your hand is, knowing where the buttons are. You can replicate that exactly the same. Or you can come up with a completely new setup. There's ways, I'll have to make a video on this, there's ways you can map one button to change your entire setup, where, and not, you know, change it permanently, like you have to go through the menu and change it back yourself. You can hold one button and it'll raise your shutter speed up above 1,000 and, you know, be on a lock-on AF area, ready to grab a subject that's moving quickly and go, you know, have the burst mode on. Or you can let go of that button and shoot portraits with a shallow depth of field and the shutter speed set, you know, a manual mode. So you can have multiple focus modes, shooting setups, exposure settings set to buttons. And I don't mean hitting a button, I don't know if you guys can see that. I don't mean hitting a button and going into a menu, you know, and flipping through a menu. I mean hitting a button and the settings already changed and you're just shooting. So I can go from single to holding this button. This is my like sport button over here on C3. I set it up so that it raises my shutter speed, sets auto ISO. It automatically sets my shutter speed at 1600 and I can adjust from there, but it starts me off at 1600 and it turns on the burst rate with a zone area lock on AF. So right from the center, I can focus on something, start tracking it, and just shoot. I just went from single AF to with the press of a button. It changed my exposure settings, it changed my drive mode, it changed my AF area, everything, while holding one button. And as soon as I let that button go, I'm back to a regular shooting mode. Fully customizable setup. Get that in here and just really, really let that sink in, because it is huge, huge to be able to do that. On here, you would have to be in like, you know, the the custom U1, U2 kind of settings, and that has its limits to what it can do. There's no one button to change all of your settings. There's no way to map different AF areas to these buttons. You have to hold a button, look at the camera, or just, know by feel. Either really know your camera or just look. As a wedding photographer, you get really used to just knowing by feel. You'll be in AFC back button autofocus to cover yourself for, moving subjects just in case. It's like you're going from here and focus recompose type thing for a portrait to turning really quick and just locking focus and shooting. But your focus point can't move, because if that moment is really fast, you're gonna miss it in the time it takes you to move that focus point. So you're just trying to nail the moment. But what if you could go from shooting a portrait with the eye locked on to, the bride cracks a joke and everybody over here starts laughing and you want to catch them laughing. So you turn, change your shutter speed, AF area, and everything all at once with the touch of a button and take your shot. That's insane. That's insane. I can't say it enough. That's insane. You can do just about anything with this system. With this. Anything from the A6500 or A6000 might be that customizable. I haven't played with an A6000 myself, but A6500 all the way up to A9, A7RIII, you can completely customize your setup, do whatever you want, and the camera enables you to do what you want to do. This just does the job it needs to do and lets you do whatever you want. Bah! The last thing to remember when switching from DSLR to Sony Mirrorless is just be open-minded to all these changes and the new technology. Like, just open up to it. It's change. It's the future. The future of photography is moving past having a certain technique, holding the camera a certain way, focusing a certain way. None of that matters anymore. The ergonomics of the camera, the weight, and the balance. Some people think that that's somehow important. The balance between the camera and the lens. Why? Why is that important? Why not let that go? Here, it's kind of important because with things like focus recompose and all the limitations on how you hold a DSLR and the fact that you have to use the viewfinder, it's kind of hard to change the way you hold the camera when this is the standard of how you shoot. So you're limited in that sense, and you end up falling into these things like the balance. Like if the lens is really heavy and you're doing this all the time, it puts strain on your wrists, it puts strain on your neck, and then all this extra stuff. When really, if you're just being open-minded and trusting the camera, say you have a heavy G Master lens on this body. Normally, front heavy. Oh my God, it's perfect. Like, that's it. There's no need to be obsessed with these old, these customs that these habits that you built over the years for DSLRs. You don't need it anymore. Sadly. It's like the death of radio and TV. That's probably scary to some people. They're like, TV's dead? What? Yeah. I can use, my internet and Wi-Fi to just stream whatever I want on my computer or from my computer to my TV. I don't need TV. I don't need a regularly scheduled program. I can watch things when I want, where I want. That's the way the world's going. It's not about the tool defining what you do. It's about the tool making what you do easy and you doing what you want to do. That's the future. That's the way everything's gonna go. And if these guys, Nikon or Canon, if you're watching, if you don't let go of all these little stereotypes and just rip that mirror out and give us a DSLR body with mirrorless capabilities and insane autofocus that covers the whole frame like something like this, they're gonna leave you in the dust, man. That's it. That's just how it works. These cameras are great. Nikon, Canon, they're amazing cameras. The image quality, the autofocus, it's great, but it's limited. And that shouldn't be the case anymore. After this many updates, this many versions of these cameras, all that's changing is slightly faster autofocus, better dynamic range, and some, you know, little button layout modifications and menu changes. It's still the same friggin' cameras. That's why somebody that really knows how to take a good shot takes a D3200 or a D3100 or a Canon Rebel TI. The D5 is $6,000. The D3200 is what, $400 right now on Amazon. $400 versus $6,000. If you put someone with a really high level of skill in photography, they really know their lighting, they really know what they're doing, they can take the same shot the same way on both of these cameras, $6,000, $400. Put them right next to each other and you will not know the difference. That's it. The average person is going to look at that shot and be like, it's the same thing, isn't it? None of that matters anymore. How well you know your settings, your exposures, your lighting, your posing, your composition, that's what being a photographer is, not what camera are you using. You know what I mean? Now, where the camera matters is how easy does the tool make your job. On the mirrorless, you see the shot before you take it, you can hold the camera however you want, and you can trust the autofocus while you compose the shot how you want to compose the shot and think about the composition and the lighting. You don't have to think about anything else. And that's it. That's all I got. Just sit down, watch some reviews on Sony mirrorless cameras, and just really wrap your head around what it is you want out of a camera, and really think, like, do I need to still do these things? Do I need to hold the camera like this? Do I need focus and recompose? On this new system, is it necessary? Just really wrap your head around that. Do I need to put the viewfinder up to my face? Everything changes. Just look at Jason Lanier, the way he shoots. You know, he sticks his hand out like this, you know, and holds the camera however he wants and gets his shot every time. Oh, he's not holding it like this. He's not a pro, like, he's a professional photographer who gets insane shots every time. And he holds it however he wants. It's change, people. That's it. Sony is making leaps and bounds with their glass, with their cameras, everything. And it's happening so fast that I honestly just felt like I needed to get on now. So I got rid of everything. For some people, that would be a lot harder. I'm really good with change. It doesn't bother me. But for other people, they feel like they have to have a funeral for their lenses before they get rid of them. But yeah, if you feel like the change is something you can do, then do it. I did it. I'm 100% happy with my choice. For Canon shooters, you're lucky. The adapters are insanely good right now. You can adapt pretty much any of your Canon glass and still use all of the functions like IAF and everything that this camera has to offer. So that is awesome for you guys. Nikon, unfortunately, not so much. But yeah, think it over. Really look at it from a different point of view. Like, don't go back to those same misconceptions of, oh, the weight balance and how you hold the camera and, oh, the ergonomics, my pinky's hanging off. Just change the way you hold the camera. Think about it. You don't need to hold the camera the same way anymore. Just think it over, and the choice you make is yours. Those are the 3 things that you needed to know before switching from DSLR to mirrorless. Alright, that's all I got for you folks today. As with any video, just like, if you like what you saw, just hit that like button, smash the hell out of it like it's never been smashed before. That came out weird. Just hit the like button if you like what you saw. Subscribe to keep up to date with any new videos I post. Make sure you hit the bell icon to get notifications. And comment below if you guys have any questions or suggestions on my next video, or what you guys want me to do a video on. Maybe, you know, a little more in-depth look at the A7RIII, maybe some lens reviews. I'll be doing lens reviews as I get new lenses. And yeah, that's about it. Oh, and check out my Instagram at Raiden Photos. I'll have a link in the description for any of my latest photos, behind the scenes, updates on videos. And yeah, hit me up there with questions if you like too. So guys, thanks again for watching. Get out there and shoot, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. You guys like my shirt? OCD, Obsessive Camera Disorder. This is my kitty. His name is Reaper. You are in the way. You need to go somewhere else because you're making too much noise.